Ever stared at the ceiling and wondered what to do with your life? Now imagine there's no ceiling light, no phone, no internet, no music, nothing. Just you and 12 hours until sunset. What did people do when they were bored? Spoiler, they had plenty of ways to kill time, and some of them are weirder than your worst weekend. First, a myth. You might think prehistoric people were always busy, hunting, gathering, building shelters, but the truth is, after a few hours of hunting and a few more of gathering, a lot of the day was free. Sleep, food, chores, those took time, but there were huge stretches left over. Some estimates say hunter-gatherers had up to 11 hours of free time a day. 11, without Netflix, without notifications. So what did they do? They didn't just sit and stare. Well, sometimes they did, but mostly they invented things to do. Let's walk through the top ways ancient people beat boredom. Each one looks silly to a modern eye, but each also tells us something about human creativity and about how little we've actually changed. The most obvious one is cave painting. You probably imagine deep spiritual meaning, a ritual handed down by shamans. And sure, some of that exists. But archaeologists have found walls filled with dozens, even hundreds of the same animal drawn over and over. On one wall in France, there are 364 versions of the same horse. That's less divinity, more practice. Imagine a person sitting with charcoal thinking, what's the best way to draw a horse leg? Then doing it 364 times. In other words, early TikTok practice sessions without the likes. Next, games. People loved to play. The earliest dice go back 5,000 years, and people were using bones and carved stones long before that. Games could be just passing time, or deadly serious. Archaeologists found hints that people sometimes bet everything: clothes, food, even personal freedom. Ancient gambling was like your worst gambling story, except instead of losing a credit card, you lose your cloak. And there were board games too, like the royal game of The board survives, but the rules are lost. So yes, they made games, they argued, they celebrated and cursed. It was noisy entertainment. When dice got boring, they made music. The oldest known flute is about 40,000 years old. It was carved from bone. Probably not Beethoven, more like experimental jazz from a very confused platypus. But it was music, and music brings people together. Drums, rattles, bone flutes, and clacking stones. They formed tiny bands around fires. Music might even predate complex language, rhythm and melody as social glue. So they made songs, sang, danced, and yes, somebody probably thought they were terrible. Still, the beat kept the evening alive. They also invented hobbies. Fixing tools wasn't glamorous, but it took time. Sharpening spear tips, patching hides, carving handles. Some people became specialists, the ones who could mend a cracked pot or fashion a new needle. Others took pride in tiny projects, weaving a pattern, etching a design, making a nicer bowl than the neighbor. With so much free time, craftsmanship became a way to stand out. If you could make a better cup, you were basically the influencer of your village. Another big category, storytelling. Folks gathered around the fire and told tales, myth, gossip, practical advice disguised as a story. Storytelling was social entertainment and survival training in one package. People practiced the same stories until they were polished, added jokes, exaggerated the heroics, and passed on local news. And sometimes, they didn't talk at all. Group silence was normal. Sitting together, watching the flames, sharing presents. It was social time. Think of it as group meditation with marshmallows missing. Which brings us to the weirdest hobby, staring. Yes, people loved to stare. They'd sit for hours watching a fire, the clouds, or the stars. It's hypnotic. Anthropologists say some cultures practiced collective staring. Neighbors visiting not to chat, but to sit silently by a fire. That's oddly familiar. You scrolling through a feed, eyes going nowhere, except their screen was a sky full of stars. It's the same human urge to zone out and let the mind wander. There were small rituals and silly competitions too. Who could spit the furthest? Who could imitate an animal? Who could make the oddest noise? The kind of low-stakes shows people use to bond. Children had their own games, imitating adults, practicing spear throws, competing for small prizes. These low-tech contests reinforced community ties and killed hours in a way that built skills as a side effect. So what's the takeaway? From cave paintings to gambling, bone flutes to group silence, ancient people had a lot of options. Are we that different? We replaced the campfire with a screen and the bone flute with a playlist, but the core impulse is the same. When we have spare time, we make, play, and socialize. The tools changed. The urge to fill time didn't. If you like this, hit subscribe and join the campfire. New weird history every week. And now, a challenge. Put your phone away and sit quietly for 1 minute. If you survive, tell us what you saw. Thanks for watching. See you next time.